right, writers, we've been talking about strategies for generating our personal narrative writing. These strategies have included thinking of a person or a place who matters to us, and then we've listed small moment stories that are connected to that person or that place. We've thought of our first times, our last times, times we realized something. These were called our turning points. And we listed stories that we could tell about each one of them. To come up with ideas, we have thought of a strong feeling. We've listed stories of particular times we felt that feeling, and then we wrote one. Yesterday, we decided to, ready? Raise the level of our narrative writing, and we did that by dreaming the dream of our story. And then we wrote in a way that allowed our readers to experience that moment with us. So I had gone back, if you remember, my Swimming the Mile story, and I started rewriting it, and I totally changed the beginning. I started the story over, and I threw you in the pool with me. Remember, I said the waves were splashing, my goggles were filling with water. I could almost feel the hard wall in my fingertips as I came in for the final stretch of my race. That's a strategy that we don't have to forget about as we're continuing to write. You can always dream the dream of the story as you're writing. Today, I'm kind of feeling like I'm just totally out of writing ideas. I don't know how else to come up with an idea or how to get started on a story. So I'm going to take a break and I'm going to read to us. Sound cool? So I have a book here. It's called When I Was Your Age, and I'm just going to take a quick break from my writing because I don't know what to write today. So we're going to read a little bit. This is called All Ball by Mary Pope Osborne, and there's our author right there. I remember the first time I got really bad news. I was 8 years old, and my family was living in white wooden army quarters at the edge of a thick pine forest in Fort Eustis, Virginia. All my life we had lived on military posts, and I loved them. I loved the neat lawns, clean streets, trim houses, and starched uniforms. I loved parade bands, marching troops, green jeeps, tanks, and transport trucks. I loved having military police and an entrance gate. When I was 4, I dreamed that the MPs guarding the gate chased away a couple of ghosts that tried to come onto our post. It is one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had, and to this day, it makes me feel good to remember it. Living on an army post in those days was so safe that in all the early summers of our lives, the children of our family were let out each morning like dandelions to the wind. My teenage sister went off with her friends, while my brothers and I filled our time playing with our toy soldiers, including my favorite, a small silver statue of General Omar Bradley. We played maneuvers by carrying large cardboard boxes around the parade field, stopping every 100 yards to bivouac by making grass beds and napping inside our boxes. I have to stop. Do you know why?
You've got something to write about.
Yes. I'm reading this short story and I'm thinking, whoa, Mary Pope Osborne, you're my girl, because you just gave me an idea for how to start a story. So I have to copy her. So I'm going to stop reading right there because she's totally just gotten my mind moving. So I'm going to take my writing notebook out. I am going to go back to a sticky note that I've had before because this reminded me, she started, I remember the first time I got really bad news. And I'm like, well, I have a whole page about the first time I did something. So I have a sticky note here. This is actually the last time. I haven't started this story yet. But I have the last time I sang with Vestal Voices. I want to write the way Mary Pope Osborne did. So I'm taking this bad boy off. I'm going to flip to my next available page. And I'm going to try and copy her right now before I lose what she was saying. So today's 10/12. Well, she said, I remember the first time I got really bad news. I remember the last time. I sang with Vestal Voices. And then what is she saying? I was 8 years old and my family was living in white wooden army quarters at the edge of a thick pine forest in Fort Eustis, Virginia. I was 18 years old. and it was my last year of high school. What else does she say? Oh, she starts talking about, all my life we had lived on military posts and I loved them. Then she goes on to say like everything she loved about it. So I'm going to try to mimic that because she's really inspired me with this story. So I'm going to say, did she start a new paragraph? No, she kept it right there. All my life, I was a musician. I loved to play piano, and I loved to sing. I hope we weren't making fun of my story.
No. Somebody made a noise.
Well, that's just kind of what I felt in the middle of my writing when that happened.
The snore, the weird noises. It was
Yeah, that's a good idea, Dominic, because sometimes there will be weird noises that happen, whether they're on purpose or it's an accident, but it's honestly easier to ignore it than it is to, I'm going to pause that. It's easier to ignore it than it is to, we're better off ignoring it than we are encouraging it. Yeah. So, can we move on? Because I thought we were making fun of my writing.
We do not want. I love you, lady.
Thank you.
We do not want Mrs. Fondant's
Thank you. Feelings to be heard.
prediction to not be right.
That's right. Should we keep going?
Yeah.
I have a couple more ideas to get down on here, but then I want you to go right. All right, class?
Yes.
Here we go. I loved to play piano and I loved to sing. I loved standing on the risers. How many people are in chorus? So you might know this feeling. Standing on the risers with the other singers around me. I loved, and notice like my handwriting it's starting to get a little sloppy because I'm becoming not that I'm encouraging sloppy handwriting, but I'm becoming really passionate about what I'm writing and I'm getting really into it. So I am just writing fast and furiously, totally, yeah. So I loved that the singers next to me, or the singers around me, felt like family. I loved the in chorus or even in band or orchestra, or if you've been on a stage, you know that feeling when the lights are shining on you and it gets like hot. So I'm gonna write, I loved the heat of the lights, the stage lights. And then there's more I can put here, but I want to see what she did next. So she's talking about all the things she loves about it, but then she goes on, after she's kind of set you up, Mary Pope Osborne, she set you up for here I am, like in a military post. She goes on to say, now here's a story about being there. So I could jump in here. So I'm kind of setting up, here's what it was like being in Vestal Voices. Now I can dive into what it was actually like on the last night, that last concert. Which I could go on to say, like, I remember some of the songs. We sang Oh Danny Boy. I remember singing Oh Shenandoah. That song. It's an old, like, folk song type of thing. It's a great song. Class?
Yes.
But what I remember the most was there was one song. Class?
Yes.
There was one song that Vestal Voices would sing all the time, so it was a really important song to everybody in the group, and this was the last time I'd be singing it, and I barely sang a word of it because I was crying the whole time because I was so sad that it was over. So I would go on to write about that whole moment, like, you know, the last applause, the last time walking off of the risers, that kind of stuff. But so today, what I just showed you is that I was feeling totally stuck in my writing. I hit a point where I'm like, I can't think of any more story starters or any other way to get into a personal narrative, which, remember, is a true story of something that happened to you. So today what I did was I just took a break and I read the words of another author. So I read the words another author has written and I allowed them to spark my own story ideas. So I opened up a book and I was like, let me just read through this a little bit. And then I couldn't read on because I had to start writing. So today and every day, if you have a story you'd like to start and you're not sure where to start, see if you can be influenced by another author. Let's go write.